Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Wellness Day, a podcast coming to you every Wednesday here from the Jehangir Wellness Center. I'm Jehangir here from the JWC studio, and today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, and that is food. We are talking with Paloma here. She is a lifestyle coach, she is a celebrity nutritionist, she is a clinical nutritionist. And thank you so much for being here, Paloma. It's been a long time coming, and I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Kawas, for having me here. It's an indeed pleasure for me. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I said, food has become one of my favorite topics, and it's
Rightly
such a big topic as it should be. And you've been doing this for many years now. You've got
Right.
training in all aspects of nutrition, and it's such a
Right.
big thing. So let's start with the big question then.
Yes.
If someone were just to come up to you and ask you, hey, how do I start my nutrition journey? Where would we go?
So rightly asked, the answer should be nutrition is the language with which you speak to your own body. It's a beautiful bridging gap between how you want your body to shape up. You are what you eat, right? So at the end of the day, if you know what is that your body is seeking, and you know what you want and what you need, that's what your right nutrition is.
Okay, that's music to my ears.
Thank you.
Because just taking on that, for me, the journey for nutrition has really probably been the biggest difference that I've noticed in my life when I
Right.
started on this journey of wellness.
Yeah.
I started with working out, and that was great, and I saw benefits of that. But really, the biggest benefit that I saw in my life was when I started taking exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
What goes in
What goes it? Exactly.
as really mindful, and that's really changed the game for me.
Yes. Yes.
So I can imagine how it must be so many for the people that you deal with, and how
Yeah,
important.
absolutely. And for every human being, it's different, right? Because every human body is different.
Right, absolutely.
So exactly, so that how it works. And it works differently for different individuals because everybody has a different kind of body type, eating habits, cultural conditioning, the kind of food they actually grew up eating.
Right.
So for everybody, the perception is different, the way we approach is different, and of course, the clinical parameters are also different. So according to a given body type and the cultural conditioning, and of course your emotional pattern, your food habits, we design the diet charts.
Yeah. But then just coming back to the basics of nutrition, because it can get so complicated, or people can make it so complicated.
Exactly. Right. So yeah.
What are the basic fundamentals, if you just had to explain to someone that if they want to lose weight, there's so many, fat diets or crash diets and stuff like that. Effectively, it really just comes down to eating less than more than you should be
So
spending more energy on.
right.
basically.
So Kavas, one has to understand what their metabolic health is all about. We need to figure out if the amount of food a person is having, is the person being able to burn out that food
Yeah.
and create energy out of it. One has to eat a plate of different colors. That means there has to be enough amount of food as perception to fruits, vegetables, your whole grains, and good protein. If you're
And
having
good chocolate.
uh,
Sorry. No, much
yeah,
for
exactly.
me.
Chocolate, yes, of course, and it's taken as a choice. It is not a cheat.
Absolutely.
So exactly. So if you can have a chocolate and still burn it out, it's absolutely fine. There's no problem. But the concept of good food and healthy food for nutrition and weight loss should be having a wholesome meal which entails everything, all the greens, vegetables, good fiber, good protein, healthy fats, lean protein, and
Absolutely,
good
yeah.
carbohydrate as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is good carbohydrate?
Something that is a whole grain. That means you don't stick to white bread or white rice. You can shift your focus to a brown rice, a black rice, or Indian millet,
Yeah.
which is jawar, bajra, nachni, khapli. There are so many variations which has a glycemic index of low to medium. That means it doesn't spike your blood sugar.
Yeah, right.
So if you're doing that right, you're including vegetables in all your meals, have a nice early dinner, doing some workout in terms of doing good cardio, go for a nice walk, do some meditation, some lightweight activity, you're good.
Yeah, it's like, honestly, it's quite simple. May not be easy, but it's simple.
It's very simple, but what it requires is a level of
Yeah.
consistency, grit, and dedication. One might just do this for a day and feel, oh my God, they're exhausted. It's just not their cup of tea. The second day, they'll feel, oh my God, that was not as difficult
Yeah,
as it
yeah.
seemed the first day. The third day, you will be more relaxed into a process. The fourth day, it will actually become a little more easier. On the fifth day, you will be comfortable.
So how do you get your clients or your friends now, hopefully, into getting that consistency? Because that is probably the most common thing, is that, they start something and then in 2 months or rather in 2 weeks it's gone and then becomes worse.
Absolutely. So, a lot of my clients whom are like family to me, I actually give them a call on a very regular basis, just a friendly call to say, hey, what's up? What are you eating today? And when my name comes up as Paloma More, they know that, okay, my God, a Tinker Bell is there.
Someone is watching.
Somebody's watching. And that awareness really helps, because they know, oh my God, I think I have taken little more of chicken. Let me just keep 2 pieces away. Probably this is not how much we require. Probably 4 pieces is enough. We're just looking at 8 pieces.
Okay.
So when your body doesn't look at satiety, they are looking at excess. So you eat as much as your body requires. When that awareness comes to your individual self, then the job is automatically done.
Okay.
And initially, I do give them a lot of follow-up calls. I personally ensure that I reach out to them and I ensure that they are eating right, eating well. And after a month, I think they are good.
Okay.
Because then their body is used to the systematic programming of eating right and eating healthy.
So coming back to the systematic part of it, like
Right.
I'm just drawing from my personal example, I might be an outlier in this, but I love
This freak.
well, I don't know whether definitely a freak. I don't know whether. But the point is, or at least from my experience, is that I love tracking my calories and how much food I've weighed out, and I've seen the benefit of that. But it obviously doesn't work for some people, or most people. It may not. It's different approaches for perhaps the same goals.
Right.
So, what is your take on on that aspect of creating a system for that person? Do you do that for particular people? Like, do you think tracking calories is good for them, or just being mindful overall if you're generally getting the job done? How do you approach that?
So, there's a mixed approach, covers, and I'll tell you the trick to it. All right. I first understand the psychological programming of a person. If I see that I've given somebody an app called MyFitnessPal, which is actually tracking the regular calories,
Yeah.
and they're comfortable doing it, and it doesn't overwhelm them,
Yeah.
then I allow them to do it and I want them to do it, because that keeps them aware and mindful. But if I see that some people are just getting too overwhelmed,
Fair enough. Yeah.
and they're scared enough to see that mirror, because it is a mirror to what you've done,
Yeah.
and scaring them and it's overwhelming them, and they are not being able to process the truth too fast, then I keep it very lax and I tell them, okay, this is the bowl size, this is approximately how much you
Which
should
is
eat.
effectively as good.
Exactly. And then I don't ask them to track. But what I tell them is, at the end of the day, they are going to make a food log and send me the log as a part of writing a diary. When I tell them a diary, they are very relaxed and their anxiety doesn't shoot up. But if I tell them an app is there where you effectively have to write down everything, which shows
Yeah.
an aloo has this many calories with having a starch, then it might make them anxious.
Fair enough,
Because
yeah.
a lot of clients that I have are clinical clients.
Yeah.
So I don't scare them, but I get them to a habit of jotting down everything and sending it to me, and probably a nudge the next day saying, hey, listen, how about using a sweet potato instead of an aloo?
Yeah.
That's a better variation. So that's how I evolve
Fair enough.
into the mixed gaming of it.
Yeah. But then taking that forward, I'm sure you also have clients who try and follow what you're doing, and then they see over time that, oh, my progress is not happening. my weight is not going down, or if the goal is to go up, whatever it is. What are the most common mistakes that you see that people make, even if they are trying to lose weight or following a particular program?
Kavas, I'll be very honest with you. Out of probably 100 people, there will be 60 people who will see progress, and 40% people will be like, okay, we are getting there, but why is it a slow progress? Right?
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily that a person goes wrong somewhere. Probably it's their metabolic health and metabolic conditioning that takes a toll. There are many, many factors on that. Age is a factor.
Yeah, of course.
Clinical conditions are a factor. Emotions are a factor. Late night binging can be factors, which they might not tell me the next day.
Yeah, so that it doesn't come in their diary.
Exactly. Sometimes it doesn't come.
If it's not in the diary, then it doesn't count.
Yeah,
in
it
your
doesn't
calendars.
count, right? So I actually find about it from probably a relative or a friend.
Oh, so you have spies in your
Yeah, of course.
system as well.
Because suppose if a lady comes to me and she has a kitty group and she has suddenly dropped a lot of weight, the entire kitty group joins me. So eventually, Kawas, I figure out what if the person had biryani or someone who had a chole kulche. Or it has been a late night couple of extra drinks.
Fair enough.
So I figure it out, but at the same time, I get a lot of frantic calls in the morning saying, "Oh, Paloma, I did everything right," and suddenly the next day the weight went up half a kg.
Yeah.
So my job at that moment is to just relax the person, and first I say, "It's all right. Tell me what you did last 3 days."
Okay.
And then I take understanding of what the person might have done or might have done and not realized. And then I make a fresh chart and give it to a person and say that, okay, this is what you need to do. Probably there are some tweaks
Correct.
required.
Oh, yeah.
Some timings needs to be changed. Some portion needs to be controlled. So we work on it. And the first thing is to just calm the person down and to have a sit down chat with the
Yeah.
person. Normally it works.
Okay.
It works.
So, kicking back to actually the one word that you said that sort of got me thinking right now is the emotional side
Yeah.
of eating. I mean, we can talk about creating systems and doing this or tracking this calorie or writing that journal down, portion control, you calling them as much as possible and so forth. But there's such a huge psychological side to eating that I've noticed, and I know people very close to me, that we can create as much system as we want, but there's an aspect of emotional eating that if one doesn't understand, perhaps as a nutritionist, then you can never really get into progress of what someone wants to see. What are your thoughts on that and how to address those kind of things?
A huge study is being done right now on the effects of depression, emotion, mental health, the repercussions and the effects of it on a person's eating, lifestyle, weight gain, different things. So there is two sides to it. One is when a person is emotionally eating, okay, then they get prone to eating starchy food, refined sugar, and what we call as junk food, right? Because the person wants to elevate the mood and feel happy
Yeah.
eating. So for them, it is a correlation between the both. But what happens, it's a case of atypical behavior. Either if you are very happy or very sad, in both the cases, it's a traumatic
Yeah,
situation,
absolutely correct,
right? What gives rise to a concept of bulimia or an anxiety or a depression, which leads to weight gain or weight loss. If it's a weight loss, we call it melancholic.
Okay.
If it's a weight gain, it's a atypical eating disorder. So what happens is if you are into a late night binging, it actually flares your acidity the next day
Okay.
and giving a person a lot of bloating and acid reflux. And in turn, your gut health really suffers a lot. And actually speaking, I would suggest 4 out of 10 women in India today probably suffers from a late night meal because of emotional anxiety and stress.
So saying they eat later, they eat.
Later, yes. And because after eating, there is no physical activity, so there is no way that you're burning the food in energy and you being able to burn that calorie, right?
Yeah.
There are 3 ways to actually channelize it. The first way
let's hear them.
is, when you have to be aware of what is your trigger points.
Your emotional trigger
your
points.
emotional trigger points.
Right.
And you have to analyze that, okay, if I'm eating or I'm overeating, is it out of need? Is it a want? Or is it an emotional trigger that I am pushing too much? If a person is aware, then the person really take a step back and sit and do nothing about it and just watch some music and heal yourself.
Yeah.
Meditation helps big time,
Okay.
and some healthy exercise post probably around 5 p.m. is going to really help,
Oh, and why do you say that time particularly?
because a lot of people really crave a lot of food in the evening. Some women are not hungry, or some men are not hungry really in the morning.
Yeah.
But towards the evening, after your work hours, is when you really start feeling hungry.
Right.
So if you exercise, even if you eat a little bit excess, you'll be able to burn that excess calorie with food, right? So exercise also ensures that you have your happy hormones going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exercise keeps you happy. It's a stress reliever. So exercise, meditation, walk, it's a very important step to ideally negate any kind of midnight binging that creeps from emotions.
Absolutely. Walking is one of my favorite things.
Yes, it really,
It is
really
an absolute. I can't think of the right word, but it's like a super. It's a
savior.
superpower.
It's a superpower.
Absolutely.
Like a lot of, if I've had a very, very hard day, what really saves me through is just a walk.
Yeah, it's great for your head. It's and for your, as you said, for the physical side as well.
And I keep the phone away and I just stroll.
Yeah.
It's so important. And one of the best things, again, is to speak to somebody who can listen to you and you vent out your emotions and not keep it inside and, fool it up.
Yeah.
That's very important. So talking out to somebody is very important. Some healthy exercise is very important. Meditation is very important. Music is very important.
Ah, nice. Yeah.
Okay, so if these things are done, it channelizes your anxiety, emotions, and depression to a good outlet.
Versus binge eating or not eating
Yes,
at all.
which has
And because actually it's both ends. Like
very, very
for me personally, I've noticed that if I'm in extremely high stress situation,
yeah,
I won't eat for a day or something like that.
yeah.
As opposed to other people who
just
on
eating,
the other
right?
end.
Yeah, so it can go to
Yeah.
both the directions.
Which is when I started realizing
Yeah.
the power, the emotional side of eating, which is not just as simple as, oh, I'll track my calories and I'll willpower.
Exactly.
Willpower will only take you so far.
Exactly. So when you track your calories the next day, then you get a shock. Oh my God, this is what I've done, right? So that's how it is. And also, just jotting down your daily activity really helps. Maintaining a diary and said, okay, yesterday was a bad day and probably ate a little bit more. So let me compensate today and probably cut down on a portion. Cut down on your portions on a lunch or a dinner will really help. And I believe breakfast is a very important meal for a person to kickstart your day
Absolutely.
with a very healthy mindset. That's very important.
And coming to that breakfast and particularly the Indian diet and so forth, you're the expert.
Right.
Right now, of course, everyone is talking about high protein this, high protein that. Can you tell us about the importance of protein in the diet, and particularly in the Indian diet, and how you try and get people to get to what their requirements should be?
Right. So, ideally, a 60 to a 90 grams of protein is very important, okay, both for a vegetarian and for a non-vegetarian, all right? And I repeat this, it's very important because it gives you the important energy and it takes care of your muscle wear and tear.
Yeah.
So you recover faster with a good amount of protein, all right? You have to ensure every meal of a person from a morning breakfast to a luncheon and a diner should have good amount of protein, all right? But also post-workout should have at least a 10 to 15 grams of protein.
Okay.
Okay, that can come if a vegetarian can come from a vegan or a plant-based protein powder or some chole or chana.
Okay.
And for a non-vegetarian can come from a whey as well. That is not from an isopure and can come from eggs and again some sprouts and chana. All of that is very, very important for Indian and not only for Indian, for universally for all body types and because everybody needs to focus definitely on protein but equally on fiber and equally on carbs.
Yeah, I completely agree with
So again, a complete balance is very important.
Mm.
Fiber should be 25 grams because it takes care of your gut health.
Mm-hmm.
If gut health goes for a toss, then it's trouble.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be honest. In the last year, actually, I've been focusing more on fiber, and that's actually really made a big difference in my diet as well.
Exactly.
Or rather, in my lifestyle
Right.
as well.
Right.
But yeah, I'm actually glad to hear you talking about protein shakes and things like that as well.
It's very important, very, very important. But of course, one has to be very careful because if you're a kidney patient, if somebody is a renal patient, then one has to be careful.
Of course.
So, of course, it changed for different clinical parameters of different individuals. If somebody has a uric acid, then they have
Right.
to reduce it.
What are some of the biggest myths that you typically have to bust as a nutritionist?
Bust, okay. Some people say that, okay, if you don't have carbs, then no. Some people say if you have carbs, you will, of course, put on weight. No, that's a most common fad ever. You can have whole grains and still you can, in a healthy way, put on weight,
Lose weight.
reduce weight. But it depends on how much you
Exactly.
eat.
That's it. All comes down to that.
Right, and there is a concept called Mediterranean diet.
Mm.
It is called a separate sect of diet because of the fruits and vegetables that's included. But ideally, I feel all Indian have a Mediterranean diet in their food, especially vegetarian, because all they eat is greens and beans and
Right,
lentils and everything, all of that. So I think we do a healthy mix of everything. So there's a thing called vegan diet, which is also very good, and there is a diet which is plant-based diet, which is very good. It just actually makes a difference of what approach a person is taking towards health and wellness. You do a plant-based protein or an animal-based protein, as long as it is a good source of protein, it's very good.
Okay.
It really doesn't. And a lot of vegetarian people come to me and say, oh my God, we are vegetarians, so we have very limited options of protein.
Yeah.
That's also a fact because actually vegetarian people have a lot of options of protein. You
As
just
long
have,
as they're getting it right and in the right.
as long as you're getting it
right
right,
sources, yeah.
right sources, and there is a primary source of protein, there is secondary source of protein, and actually everything has protein. All that you eat has protein. Your dry fruits has protein. Your carbohydrates also has an amount of protein.
yeah.
Your fruits and vegetables also has protein. So ideally everything has protein, but depends on what
It
proportion.
adds up and you have to be mindful about it.
Yes, and then app really helps.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, so it says what is the intake, what is the percentage of
Right.
protein in what, how much protein a lentil or a legumes can have, what has more of carbohydrate, what is more amount of protein. So it's a mix and match of everything.
Okay.
So protein is very, very good, very important, but it also depends on what is your clinical structure, clinical parameters. According to that, you must have your protein.
Understood. Okay.
Yeah, if a person is absolutely fit and fine, then 90 to 100 grams of protein is a bare minimum.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So then, Paloma,
Yes.
what is the advice that Paloma, the nutritionist, gives Paloma, the person,
About food.
about food? What do you do as an expert in your own lifestyle and nutrition?
I'll tell you one very quick hack which I do for myself. If I've known that one day I have overeaten and I've overdone my calories, the next day I straight away skip a meal.
Okay.
All right. And I reduce a portion of everything by a bit, at least by 10 grams.
Okay.
All right. So I counterbalance everything to make sure that I'm having a wholesome meal. But at the same time, if I skip a meal, I balance it out on the other meal. So that's what I do. But my kind of eating is I eat everything and I eat 3 meals a day.
Yeah.
But I ensure that I walk at least 10 kilometers a day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
pretty good.
That's a must thing for me.
So way more than 10,000 steps.
Yeah. Absolutely. I can just walk.
Awesome.
Yeah. That is what actually that's my kind of exercise. I do not hit a gym per se,
Right.
but I'll go for my walk. That's a must do for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can probably spend another episode talking about
Yeah.
the benefit of walking and nutrition and how they're so
How it is winter. Yeah.
well linked.
Absolutely. So that's very important. And my usual dietary intake entails at least 85 to 90 grams of protein a day because I'm walking a lot.
Yeah.
So my muscle repair needs to be good.
Yeah.
and a lot of salts also, because I need electrolytes as a lot. So I do some nimbu pani with a little bit of black salt. That's very important for my recovery process as well, and so that I don't get fatigued.
Right.
Because as a clinical nutritionist, we deal with a lot of patients in a day and a lot of clinical cases. So our head has to work
Right.
most of the time.
Well, I mean, you mentioned electrolytes, and we can get into supplements, which is like another
Yeah.
rabbit hole as well. Maybe we can
There's
save that
BCA,
for,
there is creatine,
Yeah.
a lot of supplements coming up.
or getting popular
Got
suddenly.
popular, yeah. Magnesium glycinate for sleep and for muscle recovery to ease down. So, which was not so much 5 to 10 years
Exactly,
back, but
yeah.
today I know a new supplement coming up in the market every day.
Yeah.
And then we also have to study to
Absolutely,
understand,
yeah.
okay, this is a new thing. What are the ingredients of it? What are what are the advantages of it? What's happening? Because we also need to keep studying every day
Yeah.
to understand, and also understand the
Nutrition is
coming
evolving.
trends. Yes, it's evolving. It's the Harvard Medical Science is coming up with all new studies every single month, and there is an All-Indian Institute of Medical Science which has surveys every month with clinical medicine and sciences. What are the recent trends that's coming out in the food and the food study of India? So of course, and with grains, there are a lot of studies being done
yeah.
of grains and what are the metabolic functioning of the grains, and a lot of things about type 2 diabetes, and all of it is coming. So we also have to keep on studying every day.
So much information.
So much information.
Well,
Absolutely.
with so much information, is there any last words that you like to leave us with?
Oh, have you already come to the end of the
Well,
talk show?
we can keep going on and on for hours, I'm sure.
No, I just didn't think that it'll go like this. But
time flies when you're having fun.
flies. Yeah, absolutely. So the closing statement would be something that eat with your heart, but also take care and understand what you really require. Don't go overboard while eating, but just keep a mindfulness and understand that whatever you're eating should benefit your health. Metabolic conditioning and health is very important, because whatever you're eating, your body should be able to burn it and convert it into energy, and you should have a healthy life and not have anything pertaining to diabetes, cholesterol, anything. So
Right.
healthy eating, mindful eating, and that's about it.
Lovely. Healthy eating and mindful.
Yeah, then one doesn't need me, so they can they can be good.
So you won't be calling people every day
Yeah.
and raising their anxiety.
I'll still have some people that I'll be calling, but the numbers will be lesser.
Well, thank you so much, Paloma. It's been lovely having you and getting all your insights with all the experience of wealth of
so
number of
much
people
for
that
having
you
me. Thank
that
you,
you've been
Kawas.
talking to. So thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you
It's
very
been a
much.
pleasure.
Thank you. Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you all. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. But before you leave, do not forget to hit the like and subscribe button here at the bottom. See you all next week.